One of the data types that's still a problem in e-discovery is short message data. We figured out how to handle emails, eDocs, all that stuff. But short messages are still a problem. And the biggest reason is because they get modified before being handed over to somebody else. So today, let's talk about that and talk about what some people are doing and what some of the best practices may be. So that's what we're talking about today. Most problems that I see with short message data comes to a fact that somebody has modified the data after it has been exported. So data could have been collected from Slack or WhatsApp or something else. And then someone went in and they did something because they decided that's what's appropriate for their case. And that's really the reason why data stops being compatible with software that's been designed to ingest it, is because someone modified it and broke the structure. One of the reasons people modify data after export is because they want to remove irrelevant content. So maybe somebody exported data from WhatsApp, but they need to only turn over data from specific date range. So they go in and they just cut out, the parts above and below responsive date range. And that's usually fine if you do it in application export types such as WhatsApp. But if you have more complicated data type, well, that's where trouble starts. People carve out data not carefully, and then they break that structure. And if you're dealing with Slack data, things get way more complicated than WhatsApp. In WhatsApp, you can just find your lines of text, remove them, and bam, they're gone. But in Slack, all the files are interconnected together. There is a separate users.json file, and maybe it doesn't look like it's needed, but if you exclude it, then some of the usernames will show up only as user IDs and not the actual names. There are also files like channels and groups.json that tell you what the folders are, what those channels are, and what data goes in there, and also what participants could be in those channels. So you really shouldn't be messing with Slack data, and you shouldn't be moving things around or changing the structure. Because like I said, everything is interconnected to each other, and if you move something or break that folder structure, data will no longer load. Another popular thing people do with Slack, which is really bad, is run DT search on raw JSON data. So you probably know you can buy DT search as a standalone desktop engine. And what people do is they just purchase a copy, point it to a folder of Slack JSON files, have it indexed, run a search, and then copy over the results. There are a few problems. One is you have to make sure you include your top-level JSON files. If you include those, then the resulting data should load, providing that you keep all the folder structure. But the other issue, data inside JSON files is encoded a certain way. So apostrophes and other special characters are encoded. So when you're running a DT search, you may not get all the hits you're expecting to get because the data isn't actually plain text. It kind of looks like it, and it's almost like plain text. But there is certain characters are encoded, and that may inhibit you being able to do searches. The other issue I've been seeing recently relates to Teams data. So when you collect data in Teams using Purview, or Teams Compliance, whatever portal is called these days, you get a choice to download your exports, right? And you get your PST, you get your HTML export, and then you get that reports.zip file that contains a CSV file. Well, that CSV file is really important. That is what is used to connect messages to their attachments. And a lot of times people either don't download that or don't turn it over to whoever needs to work with the data. And without that file, you're not going to be able to do a good job at joining things together or even extracting your participant names, because a lot of data is stored in that CSV file. It is a very important metadata file that should be included. So if you're working with Teams data, make sure your reports.zip that contains items, something.zip, is included as a part of your Teams collection data set. So I think my overall point of this video is it's best not to mess with original structure of data, how it got exported, and whatever data you got exported, make sure you keep all of it. Now, if you need to filter for a subset of data, or you need to do something like that, or look for specific names, it is best to use an independent third party who can handle that type of data. Have them ingest the data, filter it out, and give you the export. If you try to go in and modify data that you're not really prepared to deal with, or you don't know how it's structured, you're probably going to break something, and it's going to cost you more money for your vendor or somebody else to try to fix something that you broke, as opposed to doing things the right way to begin with. So please, before you modify your data, do a little bit of thinking and don't break the integrity of your data set. It will cost you more money in the long run. So those are my tips for handling raw data export from various applications. Don't modify them, just turn them over, it'll be better. If you know of other problems that could happen, put them in the comment section below. Don't forget to follow on LinkedIn, subscribe on YouTube, and I will see you on another video. That is a very rocky spot I picked to do an outro. Oh my God.